All righty, and welcome everyone. Let me go ahead and remove this. It is such a pain to do this. There we go. All right. So, welcome everyone again. We're having a catch up, if you will, of last week because since we had a surprise visit by Mike Chaney, I wasn't really able to cover the subjects that I had originally planned for last week. But I have relatively bad news. My wife is talking to my daughter, my second daughter, the one in North Carolina, Janice. Her husband had a stroke this past week. It wasn't a major stroke, a minor one. And having worked basically in a hospital for about 20 plus years, I sort of know what the situation is. So in the carotid artery, he had the inner membrane separated, but this must have happened, in the last several years. And he was overweight at the time. He got into this weight crash routine where, I think he approached it a little bit too quickly. There's some psychological issues going on there as well. But anyway, long story short, they identified after multiple MRIs and CT scans the issue. So they did a procedure the other day, basically a catheterization, and they went in and I think took out some clots or some plaque that had made it up to the area here on the left side, I believe. And now he's recovering and getting kind of crabby because he thinks he shouldn't be there, that he's not that bad off. And I need to talk to him and put him in his place. He lost his father years ago. He's always been a very hardworking, I have to prove that I'm the best type of people. And folks, I'm telling you, don't do that to yourself. Do not do that to yourself. It leads to nothing but stress because you're never satisfied. Okay. But anyway, things are progressing. Occupational therapists came in, and this is what I used to do in the Army, my first job. So anyway, hopefully my daughter will get some rest and things will progress. So anyway, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me remove that from my list here. We are done with that. After we get done saying howdy to everyone, I'm going to play that video that I was going to play last week. This is actually Mike Chaney's video on how to set up using the newest version of QImage Ultimate for doing cards. I took a quick look at it last night, and yeah, it makes sense. I still sort of like the one that you would do in Photoshop using a template, and that's simply the way that Red River would like you to print on their media for cards, the 6.25 by 9, and that folds into a 4.5 by 6.25, I believe. And so, but anyway, yeah, the fact that you can do it in QImage doesn't surprise me. Mike would not let this pass by and not have introduced this option in QImage. So it requires a few clicks and button pushes here and there. Um, and we'll take a look at the video because I still have to fully memorize the process. And yeah, and you can actually save that template layout. He calls it a layout. Um, and then for future use, all you have to do then is just add the images that you want to print. And we're going to do print a card where I print a AI generated Christmas view of a little village on the front. And then on the inside, where you would then write a message, I have a sort of pastel colors backgrounds that I'm going to go ahead and add to that. And we'll print it. We're going to be doing double print. I don't know how this paper is going to print on the opposite side. I think it'll be fine because it's not resin coated or anything like that. It's just a plain paper base. It should be able to take the ink okay. We'll go ahead and test that. Okay, so let's begin. TDP 609. I love the way they're doing this. I don't know how this was introduced a couple weeks ago, but it's crazy the way they are changing your name now to whatever they decide your contact is. Hello, it's Ron K from Trenton, New Jersey. Epson EcoTech 8550 commercial over lifetime, Adobe photography package, and Canon R5 Mark II, Canon R7D Mark I. Welcome back. And he was on early this morning. And then we have Fred Elias, Warren, Michigan, Southeast Michigan, Epson EcoTech 8550, OEM Inks, Red River Papers, Nikon D300, Samsung Galaxy S23, QImage Ultimate, Lifetime. QImage Life, I assume is Ultimate, i1 Studio, and other goodies. Wet, gray, and cold here today. Yeah, same here. It's been probably slightly raining. It's supposed to get a few little drizzles this afternoon, but it's about mid. Not too bad. 63 according to my computer here. Again, I don't mind this kind of weather. It's kind of quiet and mild in a way. Not too rambunctious. NPM photo, Nick Marmolejo, Deer Valley, Arizona, Epson 3800 PSography, Pro Inks, Epson XP 15000, chipless PCSE inks, QImage Ultimate Lifetime 01, on one Photo Raw Max, Sony Alpha 6000. Today I'm going to refill my wife's XP 15000 cartridges for her. I haven't done it in a very long time, but she hardly ever prints anyway, so it should be fine. Martin Van Gogh is here from the Netherlands. Usual stuff. How do you find your Facebook page? Well, I'll show you. I will show you. Hang on. Let me get that special link. Here's what you do. You go in the video descriptions and you get yourself that link. And what link is that? Hang on one sec. It's going to be right a little paragraph followed by this. And I will post this right now. It will appear at the very bottom of the list of chats. So I will go ahead and pop that on the screen so you all can see it. Right there. jtoolman.netlify, LIFY.app /. Okay. Go in there. We'll post that on a tab and I will show you. So if I take that same link, post it here, paste it, and click, boom, it takes you here. And then you just look for Facebook. It's in here somewhere. Let me make sure that my friend Mike Cheney put it in. Huh. Mike, you got to add that to it, please. I don't see it unless I'm blind. Keith Cooper, we really don't need that one anymore. Here we go. I'm sorry. My bad. Right here, join group. So you just click on that and boom, it'll take you there and you go ahead and join, answer a set of 3 questions, and then you'll get approved by either me or my helper, which is Rick Johnson, and he will go ahead and approve you, and you're in at that point. So, all right. So that takes care of that. So jtoolman.netlify.app. Copy that, save it as a link, whatever you call that. I keep forgetting. Yeah, so you can then access it whenever you wish. And again, all of those links takes you to all the affiliations that we have in the channel. And by we, I mean, all my buddies that are in this Facebook group and in the channel at this point. So if you want to buy QImage, you just buy it. And there's a discount going on this month, QImage 1 as well as QImage Ultimate. So make sure that you take advantage of that. All righty. Okay, so let's continue on. We left off with Martin. We have Henry Stoffel. Welcome to Overcast Medford, Mass. And Epson P800, OEM Inks, and of course, QImage Ultimate. And next, Captain Donzi from Cool and Sunny Richmond. And I know who that is. Pro 100 with all the trimmings. Welcome, my friend. Richard Bender from Hagerstown, Maryland. Ecotech 8550, Nikon D300. He's the guy that flies drones and takes pictures from the air. You should try that. If you ever get a drone, try that. It is just fascinating. The different viewpoints that you can get. Totally different world up in the air, of course. Anyway, welcome back. Kevin Bruniarski, Ellsworth, Wisconsin, Pro 300. Epson Ecotech 8550 and the Epson XP 15000, Photo Nikon 780, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, QImage Ultimate, Canon Pro 1000, Epson Ecotech 8550, XP 15000. You can see that there is sort of a standard set of printers that we are currently using, or at least our groups here. So if you are just starting out and you want a printer that's absolutely capable, the 8550, and you got 2 choices. You got the letter size version, which is the 8500, or the 13-inch wide capacity, which can print on just about any media you can throw at it. Some of them will give it a little bit of trouble, but as you know, in a whole, it really is a great performer. So give that printer a try. It's absolutely super cheap to operate. And I'll tell you, I've had it for almost 2 years now. I went through the first refill and I didn't even get down to like 25%. I think I topped it off at around 50% in. I'm still just about 50% in all the colors. So again, super cheap to use and very thrifty. It doesn't use a lot of ink because it doesn't run all these cleaning cycles just to make sure that it prints perfectly. That's what Canon printers do. And nothing against Canon. They do that on purpose to make sure that the printer always produces the top quality prints that it's designed to do. So yeah, Harold Davies, across Wisconsin, Pro 1100, 2100 PCSC QMH, and editing away on portrait headshots from a recent shoot. Apologizes for my humorous comment in your recent video on the three printer comparison. No, I just didn't know what you were talking about. You threw me off for a loop, and I was like, "What is he on?" Yeah. Anyway, I get it. Our family is riddled with death due to strokes. Our best wishes to your daughter and husband. Yeah, recover. He should be fine. I do believe. He just needs to. He needs to talk to a therapist. I think. Um, their first year of marriage, and actually their when they were courting. He really wasn't much of a family person. Um, and all of a sudden, the last 3 years, he's been a totally different man. But I mean, he needs a lot of help up here to get him straightened out. He does not need to be the best in the world at everything he does. Um, his father is up in heaven, and I told him, no, I did not. I don't want to do that yet. But I'm going to tell him that his father, you know, trust me, he knew you were that excellent son. Okay. Even though he may not have told you, and you always thought that you had to outperform yourself to impress your dad. No, he knew all along, and he still does. So I got to have a conversation with him when he gets home after the recovery process takes place. I don't want to do that to him at this point. All right. So Judy Ann is here. And that's my other daughter. Well, she's from Washington State. She's here again with us, and I'm always glad to see you. Canon Pro 200 printer, Fujifilm, and Nikon cameras. You are so right about the stress. Yeah, 25 here, 25 here. Here, you mean? 26 now, actually. And there's the everybody take this down, please. Save it as a contact. What do you call that up in your list of contacts on the internet? I keep forgetting what that's called. It's me losing my mind when I get older. Anyway, Pete Gravel is here, Plainville, Connecticut, and Canon Pro 1100, Canon Pro Luster, Canon Semi-Gloss 22 by 17 paper, and OEM inks. Excellent. Can you do for prints with the 11 with the Pro 1000 using profiles? Yes, you can. You certainly can, and I've been doing that. The way I did that was to trick it. I tried to install the 1100. Of course, I don't have an 1100, so I couldn't proceed with the full installation, but I sort of stopped it midway, and I went into the temporary folder that it creates, at least on Windows, is the way it does that, and I found the profiles, which I then copy and pasted into my profile folder in the Windows folder. It's deeply embedded in there. Like pa 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 pa, and finally is there. So I do have those, and it seems to help in a way. And by help, I mean it produces slightly different results, which some people may call better. Okay, so yes, you can. Okay, I think that's it for now. So let me go ahead and show you. I think let me make sure. So possibly a while ago, I went ahead and talked about the different kinds of auto reset chips. And I was screwing around back there in my dungeon, and I found this. So this is a refillable cartridge for the Pro 3000. Okay. I have a different set in there now, but the Pro 3000 is kind of shot right now. The black ink switch valve always dies on these printers, so it's useless at this point. It won't even print any black at all. So it's sort of like stuck in the middle, and it just drains it by itself. But instead of having a type of chip that would either the more modern ones that came out later on as the evolution of auto reset chips continued, it ended up where they would just reach empty and automatically auto set themselves to full. Okay, you didn't have to do a thing. That's the way some continuous ink systems did it. So especially for Epson. In fact, for my 1400, that's what I had on there. That 1400 that I'm using for sublimation is been doing all kinds of different jobs for me, including using a continuous ink system. So how does it do that? Well, each chip, as it reaches empty, it automatically resets to full. And why shouldn't it do that? Well, why not? It had continuous ink being fed into the internal little dampers. Instead of having cartridges, it had similar looking cartridges, but with an ink line attached to them. And those cartridges were always maintained full. As long as I had ink on the external tanks, it would continue feeding. So why not just have a chip that can auto reset itself to full? As soon as it reaches empty, boom, it's full again. Okay, that was the best they ever came up with. Prior to that, you had to literally, it wouldn't be a good idea to use them on a continuous ink system, obviously, because you would have to detach that damper. In other words, to break or disable power to the chip. And then once you popped it back in, click, it would begin to run at full levels. It would auto reset. Problem issue, of course, is that it has to run a purge cycle. Now, I just detached a cartridge, a damper, and popped it back in. This is better. So this little cartridge here had a power disrupting button. You notice, let me show you this. You notice here's the chip, and here's a little button. So you press it, whoop, you press it like that, and notice this actually comes off. This unit comes off of here. There is a clip here, and you should be able to remove it like that. So that's all it is. It's an external little thingamajig that attaches to the cartridge. It does not, like communicate in any way with the cartridge. It's all it is. It's just an external button. You press it, you disrupt power, wait a few seconds, let go, and now that chip is full again. Isn't that fantastic? Believe it or not, they were not that popular. I don't understand why they wouldn't be. Imagine if we had that on one of these for the Pro 1000. You wouldn't have to disable the chips. Okay, you could just reset it. Yeah, one can only dream. So yeah, that's the way I used to print on the R3000. For some reason, it just wasn't introduced for other printers. Maybe just the coding, the programming for say something like a P600, which then that's what replaced the R3000. I think they had them, but I think they were more like auto reset, where they would just auto reset themselves. That's great, but when I do it by hand, I know I'm doing it, and I better have ink in my cartridge. Yes, with these are stationary cartridges. This does not move. So you do not detach this from the printhead. There's an ink line from that cartridge all the way to the printhead damper. So just removing it, if you have to remove it to refill it, you're not really interrupting or introducing air at the printhead level like you do with this type of cartridge, which rides on the printhead. When you bring that printhead to the center position, it's floating over air. It's going to absorb air. It's going to infiltrate air. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. At this point, I think the simplest thing that they could do is try to, hack the firmware. And then that way, once they know what the programming is, they can then create a fake firmware that says, hey, you're always full. That's the always full firmware. And so you install that, but now you don't have any kind of you know idea how much ink is in your cartridge. Whereas with a sys unit, you're always feeding ink. And even with these, you just take a look. The cartridge is transparent. You can see. And in some cases, if you're really careful, you can refill it in place because you open the lid, it's right there staring at you. So you take this lid, this little plug off, and add ink. You got to be careful you don't overflow. And then press that button, and you are reset. You topped everything off, you pressed all the buttons one by one and reset them all to full. How awesome is that? Okay. Yeah. Now, they came up with a sys unit for those types of printers, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, why? You have a stationary set of cartridges. You're adding ink to those stationary cartridges, which then use ink lines, which is what the sys unit uses, to then feed the printhead, which also has a set of cartridges in it, or dampers. Nah, it didn't really fly very well. So it did not become a very popular item. And I hate to say it, I don't know how many China manufactured. What a loss. Okay. Mark Wunson, 7776. Washington State, also Nikon D500 and the Pro 100 and QMH 1. All right. Let me show you guys real quick something here. I'm working right now with someone who is having issues, and he's using a Mac Pro book. So I think that's a laptop style, and he's not getting the results he wants. And we're going back and forth, pulling teeth, and he just doesn't get it that you are not going to get what you see on your monitor, period, on a computer or a external screen that has not been calibrated, period. It's just not going to happen. And he hasn't posted any screen grabs, any screenshots to see what he's doing. He's working on Mac. He is doing God knows what. I don't know what he's doing. He's complaining that even the standard image does not come out as saturated as he would wish it to be. And I'm going, good Lord. So after this, because my daughter called me on my phone, and that's what I use for Facebook and such. And so he contacted me after I told him a few things. I'm still not getting the results that I am hoping to get, even on the standard image. The children's faces do not look as saturated as I think they should be. I said, dude, you're doing something wrong. I don't care what you say. So I told him, get QMH1 for Mac. Load your paper for a Canon or paper for an Epson printer, whatever you're printing on, which he hasn't been very, very candid about. And go ahead, let it control color. In other words, let the driver control color. QImage is going to set it for you. QImage is not going to allow you to make a silly mistake. And I'm going to show you some things in a minute here that beginners using Windows do and commit. And it's just, I did the same thing. So it just makes me cringe when I think about it. When I see it, I go, oh, how could you? But again, it's just because those people that are starting out don't know. And so, I still, for the life of me, don't understand why Epson still has these choices on their driver. It makes me lose it. Okay. So I told him, use it. And so he went and downloaded it and he's still having issues. He says it's still not the way he thinks it should be. So I said, well, the way you think it should be may not be the way the actual image is, because the standard image has been calibrated by these geniuses, color engineers. They created this image as a control. And by that I mean, just like I did in my laboratories, every instrument, every sample you ran, you had to run a control to make sure the instrument, the results you're getting, can be trusted. The same thing with a monitor. So I load that standard image and I say, that looks a little bright and a little bit yellowish. Hey, print it anyway. Use QImage, tell it to control the print process. Okay. If you tell QImage to control the print process and you're using a Canon paper or an Epson paper on a matching printer, it will give you the correct ICC profile. You can ask it, suggest ICC profile, and it'll appear on the top. I have 700 plus profiles, and it searches through every single profile, and it will put the correct one on the top. And I just double click it, select OK, and I print it. And I guarantee you, it's going to look like this. And this is not even a Canon paper. This is from Staples. Now, is he complaining that these kids' faces are not saturated enough? See, this is what I need to get through his head. Okay. So this was done using the same technique I just described. QImage, tell it to either let the driver control color. It will then use mode ICM, which means that it will match that paper you chose to the correct ICC profile you have installed in your driver. I mean, in your hard drive, in the Windows folder. That profile lives there for Pro Luster or for presentation paper mat. It will match that perfectly, and you're done. Okay, you'll get that, and that's as perfect as you're gonna get. Okay, then you look at that print and check what your monitor is displaying to you. And on a laptop, I don't know about now. I haven't had a laptop for ages. But I remember that depending on the angle, it would show you slightly different result, at least brightness wise. Um, but anyway, lighten it up as well as you can and keep it from having any extraneous light landing on it. Light your print that you made with the proper temperature light. That way it doesn't look warm or cold. Um, and view the results from what your screen is showing and what the actual print looks. And the print, assuming you did it the way I said, letting the driver control color or letting QImage control color, it'll be as perfect as it's going to ever get. The fact that it doesn't match what your monitor is displaying is a simple thing. My thermometer needs calibrating. What should be 100 degrees comes out to be 110 according to my thermometer. But I use my atomic thermometer and it tells me, oh, it's 110. My monitor is off. My thermometer is also off. I need to calibrate my monitor. And that's what people just do not understand. They don't like the idea. Of course, I understand that, of having to spend money on, I can't pull it off, but you see what I see right here. My spectrophotometer or colorimeter. The colorimeter is cheaper. if you just want to do your monitor calibration. But you have to buy that. That's the way it is when you get into photo printing. Or be satisfied that what you get is going to be slightly off, but at least it looks good. And I'll give you an example. Look at that. So, how do you think I did this? Anyone? What process do you think I did this? Did I shoot that with my Nikon D300 and then did a raw file, converted that raw file to a PSD in Photoshop after I did some conversions, some adjustments in the raw converter, and then printed it on, I don't know, my Pro 1000 using Photoshop and correct photo managed workflow, color managed workflow. And no, I did this from my phone. I shot this with my phone, my little Galaxy, whatever. Yeah. And there you go. I printed it directly via Wi-Fi using the phone app for Epson. And it matches my phone. I'm just lucky, I guess. Okay. I didn't want it to be enhanced. I didn't want it to be more saturated. I didn't want it to be more contrasty, giving more pop. The blacks are as black as they're going to ever get. My highlight here, that is a pure highlight where the sun is shining through that tree. It's pure paper. It's no ink on it at all. Dynamic range is awesome. So, yeah. So there you go. I don't understand the issue this person is having. So I'm going to go ahead after we get done here. I'm going to pop over upstairs and I'm going to get back on my phone. I don't hear my wife talking anymore. So I think she's done chatting with Janice. But yeah, I need to see this. How are you setting up your job? So this is a screen grab of someone who is having issues. And they're printing on an older printer. Doesn't really matter. It's a one of those Epson large format ultra chrome K3 systems, just like the 3880. Okay, let's see what the number is. It's a 7800, so it's using the normal magenta. If it had been in 7880, it would have been using the vivid magenta. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I assume back in the days of this printer, they were using 8 colors rather than the 9. In other words, so maybe this is just okay. No, it has. Oh, I see. It's probably not light black. That's gray, basically another gray, and then PC. So I don't see a matte black. That's really weird the way that's displayed. Maybe it's because it hasn't been it has switched over to the glossy paper, premium glossy paper, so it only shows you the photo black. But look at this. What do you see that is just absolutely? He's printing using Epson standard sRGB mode and automatic. No, 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 triple no. You do not do that. You print with custom. And then if you're going to let the driver control color, I don't care what you're printing from, you let the driver control color, you're going to click on custom, and you're going to then choose here ICM. That's what you do. And if you're printing on that particular paper, you actually have that premium glossy photo paper loaded, it's going to link that job to that profile. That profile lives in your hard drive. He's going to link it. I don't care what paper you're using, as long as you have that particular paper loaded and you choose that paper, you match it right here. And instead of this ridiculous choice, you click on custom ICM. It will then link that job to that paper you have loaded right here, regardless of what paper that is, as long as it's from Epson and as long as it's listed on this drop down menu. Okay, that's how you print through the driver, and really is the easiest way to print. Now, when you begin to use other people's papers, then you run into problems. Then, say for instance, you're using a Red River glossy paper, and they tell you to load that particular paper choice. You don't want it to then use the Epson premium glossy photo paper ICC profile. You want them to use the one that Red River created. Why is Red River telling you to use this paper choice? Because that's what they used when they printed the profile charts for then scanning and the creation of the ICC profile on their paper. Their paper surface very closely matches this one. That's why they chose that to print the charts with. So that is the only reason. So what you do then is you do not let the driver control color. You set it to none. You go here, custom, no color adjustment. When you click on here, you will see no color adjustment. You choose that. And then in Photoshop, you go file print, and then you choose the printer and then the paper, and then you tell it to let it control color. And then all of a sudden your profiles will be available, including the one from Red River you installed. You choose that Red River profile. So you're printing using this paper mode, but you're printing using the Red River profile. You get it? So basically what they did was they used this paper to create that profile. And I have done that. Whenever I make a profile using other 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 makers' papers, I will then choose a paper that matches as close as possible in my drop-down menu here to that particular surface that I am creating a profile for. And I'll go ahead then and print my chart using that. Then from that point onward, I have to use that paper choice that I used and then use the custom profile. But the driver has to be set to no color management. And I can only do that through the application. I have to tell the application, hey, you control color, use my custom profile, and I am going to set the driver to the paper that I use to create you the profile. Okay. Yeah. Never, ever, 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 ever use this mode. Okay. I don't even know why they allow that to exist. It is absolutely ridiculous to me. Oh, all it does is create issues because people beginning to do this will automatically, oh, automatic, oh, wonderful. That means I don't have to do anything. No, 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 no. No, it comes out awful. Okay, it doesn't have the gamut that you will. sRGB is this small. Your images are probably like this as far as the gamut bubble or space goes. Yeah, so don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Okay. Yes, you were correct. Cell phone. So, the fact that it matched and okay, like, am I gonna like lose sleep over the fact that my cell phone screen is actually they're when you set it to bright, it's actually bluish, and when you lower the intensity, the color balance changes. It becomes a little bit warmer most of the time. I don't know about Macs. Macs are probably superior, but at least the Android phones, they have that issue, and you can't really calibrate it. At least I don't think you can. Um, Maybe you can. Who knows? So I just play around with it, and I find the luminosity level that matches that. And am I going to lose sleep because this is slightly off? As I examine it, it is not. the sun is just shining through there like crazy. And I looked at that. There's no ink on it. Okay. And then I looked at this and I looked at my phone to make sure that I don't have any detail here that maybe got, blocked up by the printing process, by my printer. It didn't even I was able, my app is good and it has the the actual paper types. It's actually like a little driver. It has all the details. I can do nozzle checks and everything on it from my phone. And so this is perfect. This is as good as it gets. So I know from now on that if I just send something from my phone to that printer on this particular paper, it will produce a beautiful result. And again, for the life of me, I just don't get. I would have to go back to like 2000, no, 1998, 99, when I began to experiment with inkjet printing and the issues that I was having back then. I have since forgot some of those. So I would have to go back in time and what was I experiencing back in 1999? Hmm. And why would that be still happening now, 2025? Crazy. All right. I'm going to go ahead and play, give my voice a rest, and I'm going to go ahead and play Mike's video. Let me set it to full size. And let's see right here. Play. Are you guys saying there's no sound? I'm doing this as, okay, maybe from the internet you can't do that, unfortunately. Can you hear me now? I wonder if I can download this video. I don't know if he would let me. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, apparently not. Okay, so maybe that's just not allowed, unfortunately. But when he, I wonder, let me see if I can, no, there's no way that I can download this. I don't think he would allow me to do that. That's too bad. Anyway, I think I sort of know what to do. So let's go ahead and jump into YouTube. But please watch it on your own. He walks you through. I have a few other possibilities of how you would go about doing this, especially if you want to add. What he was telling you was to add a sort of like a background to the area where you would write a message to whoever you're sending this card to. Um, I think I would approach it a little bit differently. And let me see if I can remember all of that stuff. How would I go about doing that? I do have OBS Studio. Um, I'll have to do that later. I'm not going to do that right now. Um, let's go ahead and just crank up Q image. And I do have the newest one. I believe it is. Let me make sure that I have it right here. I'll go ahead and put it over there. So simply what he did was what I would do in Photoshop. I would create a paper size, a document size, 6.25 by 9. And here it is right here. So 6.25 by 9. And then he went into this area here and specify one dimension border. And I think he did it, or was it size? I think he said half page. So like that. And then you just load an image and then go into the full page editor, which is going to bring me over here, right there like so. And just click on this box and there you go. Now you have a fully centralized 1 inch border all the way around. Hit done. And I'm going to go ahead and print this. And I'm using, let me see, I am going to use presentation paper mat, but I'm going to load, I think I have the ICC profile for this particular paper. So I'm going to see if it will suggest something that I can find quickly. So basically it is Aurora Art White. Right here. And I have not done any kind of saving whatsoever. So let me see, Red River Polar Mat, Premium Mat. I gotta look at the other Red River papers. Canvas. Aurora White, right here. Aurora Natural. That's what I have, right? Yeah. Oh, Art White. Okay. Aurora Art White. There it is right there. So I'm going to save that. And now we can go ahead and print it. I should run a nozzle check first, though. Let me come back to me so you see what I'm doing here. So I have the paper right here. I have the printable side. This is the back. I have some paper loaded. Reason I'm doing this is I haven't printed here for the whole week, so I got to make sure that also check and print. We'll let that go ahead and finish. We'll check it out, and then we'll come back and print this pretty little card right here. I did this one before. Okay, that's a different one. I did this one prior. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one. I have some matte paper here. Let me remove that. I'm going to load this. Full nozzle check. So now we'll come back to QImage, and I'm going to go ahead and click print. Make sure that I don't have anything here interfering, and press the print button and let it do its job. And then we're going to flip it over and do the opposite side. And I'm just going to do it my way. So let's just say I want to make 10 of these. So I would have chosen 10 copies. That screen that you saw when I pressed the print button up here, you would then, instead of 1, you would add it, at 10. And it'll make 10 copies of the front. And then we would flip it over 180 degrees and do the back. Okay, so now that's going to print. The way you can do this, and just the super easiest way, is just remove that. And then we're going to find that little background that I made right here. Load it again. And just go to the full screen editor and add it. And that is it. And then we're going to flip that around and we'll print it. So notice the upper, let me take you back here again. This upper area, that's the leading edge. That is this. And this comes out first. So I want to print that. When I fold this in half, I want to have that background printed on the back of this blank area, but on the back here. So how do I do that? I need to feed it so that nothing is printed behind this. It's only printed here on the trailing edge. And unless I screw this up big time, it should be able to print on the correct area. So when I fold it in half, and I'm not going to add any kind of text here at this point. I just want to make sure that this is printing correctly here. So that when you fold it, what we want is to have that background printing here. This is the front. I want it to print here. Okay. So nothing is printing. And now the bottom half will have that background printed on it. Let's fold it. And I would have Merry Christmas here or whatever. And then you go ahead and write your note. Now, behind here, you can also add a barcode. Say you're doing this as a business and you generate, SKU um, barcodes, print them back here. Okay. With your name of your company, um, whatever you want to add here, you can also print it. And as you can see, this actually printed rather nice on the back of this paper because it's not RC coded. So there is no danger of, oh, I printed on the wrong side. Well, you did, but it's still fine. Okay. So this would go in an envelope and you would be all set. You could, as he explained last week live, you could add extra layers to this and then save it as a document. Where did he find that? I think it was here. So you can save this as a custom layout. So I'm going to call it Red River Greeting Card Layout. And save it. And there you go. So now that is saved. Now, if I say, for instance, leave and go to my Pro 1000 and totally different paper, you see what it does? It remembers my image. It just doesn't know what to do with it. So the way he did it was, I think he just goes back here and load custom layout. And we'll have to click on the date. There's Red River greeting card layout. And what does that say? Reformat, keep. I'm going to keep it. That's not it. So, oh, I see what happened. Oh, gosh. Okay. I see what happened. Load custom layout. I need to tell it to change. Oh, actually, it's already here. Isn't that right? Yeah. Reformat. Unable to, what is it saying? I did something wrong. Anyway, let me see. Let's see if I can find it in the other folder right here. Okay, reformat existing pages to conform to the new layout. Keep existing pages and start it. Okay. I'm going to have to ask him about that. There we go. So now we're back. We're back at the layout that we had. I assume if I click on this arrow. Okay, I see what happened. I end up only saving the background image because I didn't do it the way he said. Both images loaded at the same time. So let's just go ahead and let's see. We'll choose this one. And let's see. Now we have. Yeah. It's crazy. Anyway, so you see how, if you learn this properly, which obviously I'm going to have to rewatch the video, but you can do this. You can do this in QImage and save it. It's not really that much of an issue, even if you don't save it, because the dimension 6.25 by 9, and then the size is going to be half page. So that's it. And it's going to fill it up to 1/8 of an inch, and you just add your images. So I have to rewatch that. I'm going to do it upstairs and watch it on the big TV and come up. But in Photoshop, it's just pretty much the same. I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick I do believe I still have that template. So let's load up Photoshop here. There we go. Takes a while. I'll pop it on the other screen and show you. I like, and there's a way he already showed us that you can do multiple images. For this particular type of work, I'm really a Photoshop guy. The templates really work beautifully for that type of situation. Let me see if I can find where the heck my template is. Or I'll just make a new one. What the heck? Okay, so let's pop over here. I'm just going to go to new file. Yeah. Mikey is here, so yeah. No problem. Yeah. That's why I had stuff already loaded on there. Big dummy. Okay, so new file. If you don't have QImage and you happen to have Photoshop, then you can just do it a different way. So new file. Come on, sometime today. There we go. Here you're going to choose the width 6.25. The height will be 9. Create a document. As you can see, we're going to choose. I'm going to get one of these. Let's see, right here. And it basically is a shape. And just create that shape. And again, unlike QImage, I have no way to tell it what size I want. Let me see if I can find the center here. Right there is the center. So I'm going to shrink it down just a teeny little bit right there. So that's it. Now I have that shape. So if I just grab a photo, and I can just save that. I'll save that as a PDF with layers and open. And we'll just use one of these fall images here. Drag it over. I keep doing that. Drag it over here. And of course, it's not going to auto size it like QImage does. But if you go into the Red Rivers page for the cards, they're going to ask you to download a template. And basically, this is what it is. So we'll just pop it there. That's good enough. And now, to make it go behind that, we just click on the Alt button on your keyboard. Scroll down. You see how the icon changes? Right there. That's it. Now you can print. And you can load another image. It's not center, but let's move this over a little bit to the left. Not that, I want the mask to move to the left and down. That's it. So I don't know exactly what the border size is, but that looks fine. And then just add more and more images. You just keep clipping them behind that. So if I want to add this one, and then once you have it, then you go ahead and save it as a PDF. And Boy, my Photoshop is really acting slow today. Let's try that again. We'll do this one here. There we go. And again, I'll just resize it however I want it to be. If I want it to be more cropped, I do that. And I can do that after the fact. Oh, here it is. I already loaded this. Sorry. We'll go ahead and just do this one. I removed the other one. Let me just add it back on there. And now I'm just going to click and load it behind the mask. So and there you go. Now I can take that and move it around. Well, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, isn't it? Why are you doing that? Oh, I see what I mean. I included the mask. Now I change the size of the mask. So anyway, you get the drift. So takes a lot more steps. It's a lot more difficult, but you can do it if you don't have QImage. I suggest you buy QImage, of course. If you just don't have it, you'll have to do it this way. That's me adjusting the mask. And we'll do it like that. I think that's, we'll do the left side like so. Boom. And now I can activate this one, print 10 of those, and then print 10 of these. And yeah, you can do that in QImage as well. But this is the way that most paper companies will have you download one of these templates. And if you just don't have QImage, you have to do it this way. If you want to create your own, you got to go through all of this rigmarole that I just went through. Of course, some people are a lot better than I am when it comes to Photoshop. So, and then save it. You can have 10 images loaded and save it as a PDF. And that way, PSD, I mean, and that way you will have all 10 images loaded here, all of them with little eyeballs that you can turn off and turn on as you please. And that's what you got to do when you use Photoshop for this. I don't know whether you can do this in Lightroom. I assume there's a way of doing that, but this is how you do it with Photoshop. You have to make one of those, and you just use the shape. This is the shape tool right here, located right here. And I can make that shape. So it's called a rectangle tool. I could make that shape any background color I wish. I could make actually multiple layouts. Let's do something a little bit more fun. I'm going to go ahead and just create a, do I have any paper sizes already? Yeah, 8 by 12 right here. So I can take that tool, create a shape like that. I'm going to change the color just to make it more visible. So the next one, I can move that. Wait a minute. Bear with me, folks. There we go. And now make another one. Come on. Maybe one like that. like so. And now I can just add images to it. And this is where it gets tricky because you got to keep track. Where are you loading these images to? I'm going to close this one and size it. So look at how huge that is. So say you're going to load it there. Well, now you got to find that mask. See what I mean? You got to find that mask. Well, let's pick that one. And I got to slide it over. And you got to do this all the time, over and over and over. Then you're going to choose the other mask and then load another image and so on and so on and so on. You end up with this multi-layered PSD, which then later you're going to go ahead and load images to. But the only thing about it is that once you have it, once you have this set up, it's just a matter of you, be able to. That's how I did all of these wedding album pages. It took a lot of work, but it's nice. I mean, you can add a background to the lower layer, click it and add a background to it, and so on. Yeah, I want something simpler. I think there's a lot of tools that you can use out there that allow you to do things like that a lot simpler. I understand how certain tools purposely make themselves difficult to use so that they feel like the people who use my tool are geniuses, are really advanced people. This is not for beginners, that type of attitude. So yeah, so that's what happens. So I'm going to play around with this because I want to set up. I'm going to be printing some of these cards for this year, and so I want to set up a multi-image layout mic that I can then choose to print 5 of these, 5 of these, 5 of these, and so on, and get all these cards mailed before Christmas to to our friends and relatives. Yeah. All right. Let's jump over to something else. Let me remove this. Take Photoshop out of the. Did I remove it? I hope so. Okay. So to go back, let me see, Mike. I am shocked that I did everything right except for that. So yeah. Thanks. You're too nice to me. Anyway, calibration of the monitor. So, and Mike is an expert at this as well. There's a calibration you perform. Okay. The instrument that you put in front of your monitor is reading what the software is telling it to load, read, and then it's determining. I just loaded this shade of cyan. My colorimeter reads it. Did the value that read off of my screen, the value that was used to load that particular shade of cyan? No, it was a little off, and so on and so on and so on. The software that I'm using for my i1 Pro 2, I think it loads 120 something plus colors and different shades. And so it reads those, it determines the values were this, it actually detected that. How do we correct for the slight errors? That's the profile. That's the profile it creates for your monitor, and then it loads it. And so every time you reboot your computer, mine is very yellowish until that profile loads, and then everything becomes neutral magically. And so, but for printing, and this is what people, they wrestle with, the guy that I was just talking about. So he's printing the standard image. And he gets this, but he looks at it and he says, I don't know. This doesn't quite look good. Well, I know for a fact that I did this correctly using QImage. And I know for a fact that I do this, and I just cannot imagine how this could be improved. Because, at least lucky for me, I looked at my monitor. This opened in QImage, and I looked at this away from my monitor. I was looking at both, and I really couldn't see a difference. So, if there is a difference, what do you do? If your monitor says, and remember, you don't ever edit the control image. So if my monitor is not displaying it so that it matches what I am reporting here is my perfect print of that standard image, I trust that with my life, but my monitor is not displaying it as good as my perfect print. Do I adjust the monitor to match my perfect output, which I trust because I did it through QImage using OEM inks and the correct profile? Who do I or distrust? My monitor. I calibrated it. Did I do it correct? I can only assume I did. But did I really? So you guys are experts. There's a lot of experts here. How would you approach that? Would you make a manual adjustment in your driver to compensate for what you are assuming your monitor should be? In other words, the issue here is you don't edit the control image. So if the control image looks a little off on your monitor, you can't edit it. You do not edit. So what do you do? It's a conundrum. Please, you guys that know, Mike, tell me, what would you do? Is it the printer or is it the monitor? I say it's the monitor. And somehow, I don't care how, maybe through the software, I can make that monitor via some sort of slight adjustment to match my print, what I consider to be a perfect rendition of that image. I need to make the monitor match this. I don't want to make the printer match my off rendition of this image just so it matches. Because now I have a problem. I'm going to edit my images, you see. So let's see what Mike says. Adjust the monitor. There you go. So what if it is, and I have never had an issue with color being off, color balance being off. Like if you had a color wheel and you took the center neutral position and moved it off so that everything becomes magenta-ish, everything becomes greenish, or everything becomes bluish. I've never had that issue. It's always brightness. So when I do the calibration, and I don't know, but everywhere I have been that I consider a professional level editing studio, they work in the dark like this. This is not a good environment to read a newspaper under. So you work in the dark. What I'm seeing is the back of, you see this right here? This little black area? There's some highlights on it, and that is lit up on my screen. I can see it lighting up a little bit. But this area here, and especially the back of my room back there, those pixels on my, I want to call them pixels, on my screen, they're not lit. They're off. What I see people using screens that are like 140 um, level brightness, CDM2, um, they look gray. Those black, should be black. They look gray, meaning the monitor is cranked up so that then you can work on a brightly lit room with sunlight coming through your windows and ridiculous. And it changes every day. During the day the lighting changes. I would suggest, and you guys can correct me if you think I'm nuts, work in a control environment. And when I close that little door window and I have that up there, this backyard doesn't hardly ever get sunlight because of the height of my house and the way the arc of the sun is, no matter whether it's summer or winter. It's always pretty much the same brightness. Okay. So working under this environment where my environmental conditions don't change much, and my monitor is set to 80 CDM2, what should be black on my standard image, I look at it, and those little pixels, those whatever you call those little elements on a CD, on a LCD screen, they're not activated. They're black. They're not emitting any light. Okay. All right. If black is emitting light, your monitor is too bright. So I played around with 80, I played around with 70, and some people even say 60. Okay. But your computer monitors, they come at 140. They're set for bright, explosive brightness and contrast and luminance. And so it makes it look really super good on, when an unexperienced eye looks at it. Just like at the big lot stores, you go see those TVs, they hurt my eyes. They are over sharpened, they are over contrasty, over saturated, you name it. When you do a proper calibration, your saturation level will be set correctly. Your linearity of RGB and yellow, magenta, cyan as well will be set so that it's linearly the same color, just super dark, just above black, all the way to basically white. It doesn't change color. See, that way when you print this, whoops, when you print this will not change color. It'll remain the same hue. Okay, so it'll be neutral throughout, from the darkest to the brightest. And once you get that, if you get this monitor to match that print, then now you can go and edit, because now you can trust that it's displaying the standard control image correctly. So why shouldn't that display my photographs correctly, which I can then edit? I can change them to whatever um, color I want. I'm doing that on purpose. And if it looks like everybody in that photograph is a Martian, it should print so that everybody looks like a Martian. Not correct. It looks like a Martian here. I have to make them look like a Martian so that they print correctly. That's crazy. And a lot of people do that. I even saw experts, Photoshop experts on YouTube early on, in the 2000s, saying that you needed to create an adjustment layer and correct for the difference between your monitor and your print. Are you kidding me? Even back then, I thought that's got to be wrong. That is really the wrong approach. So, right, video games. That's why, yes, I look at the internet here. Yes, I look at other videos and everything, but I don't adjust it for that. I adjust it for printing. So the brightness the way that my images that I edit are displayed, the densities of these images match what my printers are producing. So again, these people were saying create an adjustment layer where you lower the brightness. You're not really physically lowering the brightness of the actual image. You're just telling the driver for your printer, hey, even though my image is too bright to begin with, I want you to adjust it. No, you can't do that. So what is the result? And Mike can tell you this. If your monitor is too bright, you're going to consistently end up with dark prints. Okay, period. Even though your standard image, because you didn't alter it, looks correct. Okay. If it was up to you, you would have darkened that standard image because it was too bright on your monitor. So bring the first adjustment you make when you are about to uh, calibrate your monitor is to do that, to set it to the correct brightness level. Let me see if I could even show you this. I'm going to go ahead and try to load the software, the i1 Profiler. Let it go ahead and load. Let me load this right there like that. Hold on a second. Come on. Okay. So I have this set up for monitor calibration. So here are my two monitors. Monitor number one. Oh, why did I do that? I brought it over here again. Get over there, you. Okay. So this is I did it again. It keeps coming back to my other monitor because I'm telling it monitor number one. So I cannot record this because it wants me to calibrate that monitor over there. So let's just do that monitor over there, like so. All right, so here is the luminance CDM2. Notice all the way to 250. Some people have it. This is probably the common position right here. You want it to be 80, or you can go ahead and if you also want to do your gamma, and that's always now at 2.2. I think Mac used to be 1.8 a long time ago. They have moved up to 2.2. So set it to 80, or you can. I think you can do. I can't even read that. Anyway, this is all I do. Just set it to 80 and then proceed with my calibration. I have to install my spectrophotometer and get it reset and then proceed to calibrate. I have to then calibrate the spectrophotometer and then proceed with the screen calibration. But yeah, just make sure, normally it'll be like up here. That's ridiculous. That's too bright. So this, like I said, makes something that is black. In other words, none of the diodes are activated. It's black. No light is being generated. If it's black, it should be black. It shouldn't be dark gray. That means it's too bright. And so you will then proceed to darken your image, and that will cause a dark print to be created. And that's the biggest mistake every beginner does, because they don't realize that monitors are over calibrated to the point where, because they have to be shown at a store, the store you're buying it from, they have to be displaying under a, you know, half an acre worth of fluorescent lights above them. And so it has to be set super bright. But that's not the way you edit with, okay? That would be fantastic if you're just using it in a brightly lit room with, and you're showing movies or whatever on a screen, but not for editing. You have to set it correctly. And if he says so, it is true, folks. And I'm glad that he matches what my theories are. All right, so we're talking about, I don't think we're going to print anything with the press today. This use of the Pro 1000s and the 1100s, and they're wonderful printers, obviously. Just ink is ridiculously high, $60 for a cartridge, like so. Okay, 75 cents per ml. You can buy illegal Chinese chips, cost you like $14 each, or you can just disable the chip. And people think that if you just disable one, that they're all 11 will be disabled, and you got to do it one at a time. And it's a long process to get them all disabled to the point where, like I am now, you have to use a method where you are going to modify your cartridges so that they have a refill plug. And this is long before you're going to even get close to the point where you can disable the chip. Say you're at 3/4 full. Yeah, just drill that hole. At that point, the chips will come out with a drill bit. They're not going to go inside. And then put the plug in and make sure that you drill it correctly so that the plug fits nice and snug. You don't get any leaks. If you do that, that's it. You're done. You got to get a new cartridge. So again, it's a thing that you have to seriously consider before you jump in and try to do that modification. So, and everything is up at different high levels, fairly high, with precision colors, inks, completely match originals. There is no difference in, if you were to like analyze dilutions, okay, that's how you do it, with a spectrophotometer of each color ink at a certain dilution level, say in alcohol or water, whatever, they would read pretty much almost exactly the same value. So the same wavelength. So you don't have to worry about that. Formulation wise, it's not going to cause any effects, any physical effects. So buy your inks and begin topping off your cartridges. Get them to the weight of 112 grams. So say this needs 20 ml, you're down to 60 from 80, add 20. Weigh it. Oh, it needs a couple more ml. Just add it. Or don't. It doesn't really matter that much at that point. Continue printing. Now, the printer is keeping track of every single milliliter of ink that goes through that system. It knows. It uses sensors. Every compartment for every one of the 12 channels has a little tank. Every little compartment is like a little tank with a set of sensors internally. And so here's what happens, and I've said this before, but it's a really brilliant, super brilliant way to make sure that you are very accurately keeping track of the ink use on your Pro 1000, 1100, and all of the family of Canon printers out there. So initially, let's just say from the very beginning, when you loaded ink first, you put in your cartridges and you close the lid and it begins to load. So there is a valve that is located right after this port. This is the inlet port. So right after that, there's a valve that opens up and allows ink via gravity to flow. And it fills that compartment and the ink lines and the printhead, the dampers, and it expels ink into the waste ink pads. The system was filled with some sort of shipping fluid. I don't know what the formulation is, but I think it's clear stuff. And that goes into your waste ink pad. That's why, not pad, but tank, the MC20. And that's why after you initiate the printer, it says that it's halfway full, 50% full already. And you're thinking, wow, I used up 50% of my ink. No, you just drained that system. You pushed that system out, that liquid, in other words, the packing fluid out. And now it reached the printhead. It flushed out the cartridges that live inside the printer. There's 12 of them. And then it expelled out the nozzles into the purge pad, and it got sent to the MC20. That's what it is. It's all that internal ink got sent to the MC20, and it says now and it really is 50% full, because that's how much ink, now how much that packing fluid and a little bit of your ink came out and joined that. So it's, 50% capacity already used up on your MC20. But now your system is full of ink. So now you do your nozzle check, you do your head alignment, and you're ready to print. You print your standard image, you get great results. You do an internal calibration first, though, and that brings it to factory standards. So any variations that took place, because these are mass produced, are taken care of, and everything is adjusted to factory standards. So now you begin to print your own images. So meanwhile, if you move all the way to the front again, where these cartridges are located, and in front of that is a set of valves. The printer now is completely filled, including the compartments, and those valves now are shut off. No more ink is necessary. Ink is not needed at this point. So the valves, the intake valves, are shut down. They are closed. You begin to print, and you begin to use ink from the various 12 channels, including the Chrome Optimizer. Those little compartments, they start to empty, and they reach a certain level where a sensor is activated. That sensor says, hey, you've reached me. I want to open that valve. It opens up the valve, and whether it's yellow, magenta, cyan, whatever, ink comes in. It reaches that compartment. It starts to fill it. The levels go up, and there's an upper sensor that gets triggered by the wet ink, and it tells the valve to shut down. How much ink did it take to refill that compartment? That is a secret. They don't tell you that. So I like to just speculate and say it's 2 ml. So you now used up 2 ml, not from the refilling point. Let's just say you refilled your printer, you initiated it, you took all the cartridges out, and you popped brand new ones in. Okay, now you got a completely filled system and completely brand new 80 ml cartridges. So you used up 2 ml of yellow. Now you have 78 ml left. It knows. And you continue printing. Let's just stick with yellow. Continue printing, and the levels go down again and triggers that second sensor again. Opens up the valve, 2 more ml come in, fills that compartment back up, triggers the upper sensor, shuts the valve up. That's it. Now you're down to 76 ml in your cartridge. You see how accurate this is? And it continues. Now you're down to the end, and you have 1 ml left. Okay, 1 ml. And you reach down to that second sensor on yellow, and it says, hey, valve open up, and that 1 ml comes in, but it doesn't reach the top. You need 2 ml to reach the top. That 1 ml comes in, does not reach the top. The valve just stays open, hoping there's more yellow ink, but no, there isn't. So you print, 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 print. It reaches that second sensor again. You had 1 ml in there, so you reach that second sensor, continue printing. The levels drop, and a third sensor is activated, which tells the printer, hey, you have no more ink. Okay, I've been waiting for ink to come in, but no ink has come out. And I don't want to have air from me, the third sensor, to enter my ink lines and affect the printhead downstream. So let's declare that chip empty. That's it. It declares the chip empty, red X. That's how it works. When you throw away that cartridge, if you're one of those that throws away cartridges, you're not throwing away any ink. It's empty. Unlike any other brand printer out there where you always throw away ink when that cartridge is declared empty. Canon does not do that. When it's empty, it's empty. So what if, and here's the coolest part ever. What if I've been topping off the cartridge? It reached half. I can see 50%. I took it out, I drilled it, and I topped it off. Now it's full. It's got 80 in there. It weighs 112 grams. But the chip says, because of the series of replenishments of that internal compartment, says I should have 50%. So the level is declared at 50% on my driver. But the cartridge is full. So I keep printing. Then the level, it says, yeah, I have used, say, 60 ml of ink. I have 20 left. That's a low condition. So it sends a low condition to the chip. And the chip sends it to your driver, so you can see it also on the screen of your printer. You can see low warning. It's like a yellow exclamation point. But you're still refilling them. You're full, let's just say. So then it says, okay, I don't know what's going on. The printer has no clue what you did at this point still. So it says, I know I only have 20. So 20, 18, 16, and so on. 4, 2, 0. And there's still ink. At 0, it should not have filled up that compartment. There should not have been any ink in the cartridge. You see what I'm getting at? So the cartridge should have been empty by this brilliant ink level sensing system that they, built into this printer. There's still ink. Holy cow. Ink is continually filling this compartment. After a certain number of refills of the compartment, it just says, nah, something is not right. 1753 error comes on your screen. Press the second button down from the power button, 5 seconds, and it says processing. Processing what? It is disabling your chip. It is saying, that's it. This idiot wants to continue to print. I'm washing my hands from this. Let him ruin his printer. But you're not, because you're keeping your cartridges always full. That chip now is disabled. The next 11, there'll be a different levels at that point. You just continue this process. Just make sure make sure that there's always ink in your cartridges, at least no less than 20 ml. So they cannot weigh, 32 is empty. They cannot weigh 52. It's got to be higher than that. So make sure that you take them out every once in a while and you top everything off so that it is full. And then the ink levels will drop, will reach low, will reach what should be empty. And good God, ink is still flowing in that system. How can that be? 1753. That's it. Go ahead, dummy. Disable that chip. And that's how we were able to do that. But it takes patience. Don't wait until they're empty. No, you have to trick it. Okay. So that is the process to do that. It is really interesting. I mean, I think it is. Um, Other printers like the new Pro 200 and the Pro 300, they cannot be reset. You have to use them in the disabled chip mode. And you do that, you can do that the same way, just keep topping them off. Or in this case, you can indeed wait until the chip is declared empty. And because they are not regulated the way the Pro 1000 and 1100 is, this is a sponge. There's no way you're going to regulate that the same way. When the cartridge on a sponge card is declared empty, the chip that is there's still ink in the sponge. So it's going to tell you, wait a minute, don't sue us. Don't sue us because you think you're throwing away ink because we're telling you the cartridge is empty. But physically, it's not really empty. Don't sue us. We're going to let you disable the chip and extract the last bit of ink out of that sponge or out of that bag. In the case of a Pro 300, those cartridges have an internal bag. So it allows you to do that as the chip goes empty. You can disable it by pressing that button, 5 seconds. And that's it. At that point, now you better be refilling those cartridges quite often. So in order to make sure you really don't physically run out of ink. And that can happen. That can happen. And on a Canon printer, you don't want to do that. There are thermal print heads, and no ink means no cooling. You cannot cool those nozzles. The process of heating a droplet of ink to expel it has to be controlled with the ink itself. It helps to cool that. I think it's some kind of resistor that creates the heat. So if you don't have any ink flowing, it's going to heat, trying to expel a droplet of ink that doesn't exist. The temperature is going to go up and it's going to kill that channel, and you're going to be very unhappy because print heads are not cheap. Yeah, so when you disable or decide to do that, um, you better take into account what can possibly happen, and it's up to you to be able, to make sure that you maintain a schedule. I got a guy from Europe that does that beautifully. He's got a 300, and I don't think over there I don't think you can reset those. So still, so he's using that system. In other words, he created a chart and he knows exactly what day to refill all his cartridges back up, and he hasn't had an issue at all since then. So, not that I heard of. So now I'm sure Rick Johnson is here. So back in the day, we had an issue with yellow, and nobody knew this. So Pro 100 comes out, and PC comes up with an ink set, and so did everyone else. And we began to refill our cartridges, and we just thought, hey, what the hell? It doesn't matter whether if the colors are slightly different. We just, maybe when one is empty, I'll just go ahead and add ink from my third-party source and continue printing. So we did that, and no issues. I did that with PC inks, not the SE yet, and no issues at all. I did it 3 times, and I was getting ready to fly to visit my mother in Florida, and I said, well, I'm going to print some pictures of the kids and, let's see, show them to her. She lived in a rest home at that point, and I got nothing but magenta cyan looking prints. What happened? So I went and did a nozzle check. Yellow channel was completely blank. And I go, oh, what the heck? So I looked at the cartridge, and you could see that there was a weird jelly-like substance inside. I flushed it and proceeded to then flush the printhead. Windex, 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 Windex. Lucky for me, I had not continued trying to run nozzle checks and cleaning cycles. And I caught it in the nick of time. And once I got the yellow ink flowing, I had a cartridge like this that I have flushed. And uh, he is right here, Sir Mighty Mouse, Rick Johnson. And I replaced it with the new yellow ink from PC. This had no trace of the original ink. And cleaning cycle, boom, full yellow channel. Quickly printed the pictures. I made it to the airport in time, and I showed them to my mom. And then I contacted Mike. I said, Mike, what the hell is going on here? He says, I don't know. So I think I was the first sucker to ever experience this problem. So he determined, he did an experiment. He took a petri dish, both OEM and his ink at the time, when they came together, and it didn't work all the time, but under certain conditions, it began to gel right at the boundary where both touched, both OEM yellow and the third party yellow he was using at the time. So you cannot add yellow ink to your previously OEM yellow cartridge. You have to flush it out. And that's where Rick Johnson came in and began to purchase used cartridges, empty ones, and he began to process them. He now has a more um, modified formulation, more ammonia. It's more effective, a lot more effective, because that yellow ink that they were using in the Pro 100, you couldn't just flush it out with Windex. Windex only has like 5% ammonia. So he added more ammonia to his solution, and they come out beautiful. They come out like pure white. And so he began to sell these, and now he's probably one of the best known modifiers of these cartridges in the eBay world. And so once you go that route, you will never experience that issue again. So Precision Color says, well, I am not satisfied with this because there's still a possibility that people will forget to do this and end up with a clogged yellow channel and eventually damaged. So his new ink source for yellow, which is actually better color-wise as well, does not cause any clogging whatsoever, any kind of gelling. We call it yellow jello. By the way, so he's not showing off or anything, but he has sold 1,150 sets. And has anyone complained? I'll wait. I'm waiting. Tell me. I know there's just 10-second delay. Just tell the truth. No. There you go. If that is not a good report, I don't know what else. What is, okay? So, all right. I think, yeah, we did 2 hours, just over 2 hours. And I keep getting harassed by StreamYard that, hey, you're about to reach your limit for free, Yeah, so I'm going to stop it at this point. I did not finish everything we wanted to talk about, but yeah, I'll save the other 4 topics till next week. But again, so to be clear, if you want to, let's just say, if Precision Colors inks were exactly the same output wise, sure. And since there's no more issues, you can go ahead and add it to a cartridge that still has some ink in it, and you wouldn't have a reaction or any kind of visible color change. But the problem is this: PC SE inks for the Pro 100 are better than the OEM ones. Better color output, more accurate than the OEM inks were. That's why they created the Pro 200. Yeah. The ad for the Pro 200 made me think of the ad from Precision Colors a few years prior. Yeah. more accurate red, more accurate blues and purples on cyans, and so on. You name it. It was just absolutely better. And so, how do you approach this if you didn't know? Well, you start from a fully flushed cartridge. That way, you are using PCSE inks from the very beginning and not some mixture of existing amount of ink from OEM and then the mixture from a mix percentage from Precision Colors. No, you don't want to do that. Want to start from fresh, and the only way to do that is with a brand new set of cartridges. I mean, by that I mean flushed and ready to go. What is Mike Lee uploads? Don't know what you mean. Oh, you mean when I had him on? Yeah, that'll be coming on slowly. I do one every week. Um, I could manually go through every one of them and try to find the Mike Lee ones. But yeah, that's just, I don't have time for that. I'll just have to do it every, in order as they are listed in my backup drive. So, but I got you. I got you. All right. Yeah, videos. Sorry. Okie doke. Well, that is going to be it. If you guys have any questions at all, go ahead and submit them now because I'm going to load my thank you here. And again, I'll just leave you guys to ask any questions about anything that you may be wondering about. Again, I have no news about any new printers or any of the sort. So I'm trying to contact. I'm going to see. Oh, I'm going to see Mike. He's going to be down here. He's not coming over to the house. He's going to be about 50 minutes away from me on the. I'm going to see him on the 18th of this month. He's arriving on the 17th Monday. He'll be leaving Wednesday, so he only has like a free day and a half that I can hang out with him and meet the family and so on. Possibly go to lunch and all that good stuff. So if you have any questions that you would like me to address with Mike, let me know. I'll be glad to ask him. Is there any chance? Yeah, absolutely. I've been asking him. I don't know what he's doing now as far as the printing world goes. He still has his basement and his new house that he moved to, full of printers and such. And I don't know whether he's still. I think he's been shooting photos for a change, believe it or not. So I think that's good. And they've been doing some traveling. They just went to Tahiti or I don't know where they. Yeah, in the South Pacific. They came back, and now he had been taunting about coming down here to the DC area for quite a while now, and they're coming. I hope that the government shutdown doesn't have any problems. I hope his flight still comes through and he's able to come down. I'll be able to hang out with him like half a day with him straight. I'll drive him around the general area. We're not going to go downtown DC, but he's going to be in Rockville, Maryland, which is just over there. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to see if when I see him, we'll set up something and he can come on and we can just chit chat and discuss stuff. He's still Mike Lee. I consider the top guy in the industry as far as how can someone on his very own create what he did. I just don't get it. It's beyond me. All right, so let me go ahead and let's see. I got this set up. All right, so that's it. We will see you next week. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the weekend and a nice quiet week. And I'll keep you guys informed of how my son-in-law is doing. And I'll be testing some things this coming week as well. I'll be ordering some more material. Um, And so we'll continue on. All right. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We're trying to reach a certain level. We're moving right along. I think in a matter of about maybe 3 more months, maybe by January or February, we'll be able to apply for monetization and be back on top again. All right. We will see you next time. Bye bye, everybody.